along the way, a lot of women decided they were broken. Not tired, not overwhelmed, not unsupported, but broken. Welcome back, everyone, to Sugar Not Included. I'm Teresa, here with my sister, Christina.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today on this episode. And if you've ever thought, why can't I just get it together? This episode is for you. Research consistently shows the majority of women struggle with negative self-talk even on a daily basis. So you're not broken, you're disconnected.
So, what do women think about themselves being broken? Common thoughts, for me at least, are I can't stick to anything. I'm lazy. I have no willpower. I know what to do, but I just don't do it. Christina, do you have any thoughts?
Oh yeah, I can't stick to anything. Um, right, yeah, no willpower. I feel like I'm just lazy. And
Mhm.
yeah, definitely I start strong and then I just fall off. That's probably one of those common ones for me is I always start strong and then and it teeters off. Yeah.
Yeah, for me too. I'm always like, okay, I'm gonna be like da 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 da,
Yeah.
and
This
then
time's it.
this
This is it.
this yeah, this time will be different. I just have to. Everything has to align perfectly,
Yeah.
and I'll yeah, and then I just fall off, and then I'm like, nope, I'm broken. I'm
Yeah, it must be
lazy
something wrong
again.
with me. Right.
Something, yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about this the last couple episodes actually, where like the New Year's resolution, where usually by February, 80% of people have given up or stopped working on their New Year's
Hmm.
resolutions. The episode with Jessica Shepard, the one before this, she talks a little bit about, why that is. And a lot of us are not really built to succeed with the plans that we put in place. And
Hmm.
and so a lot of that has to do with external pressure of what we think other people are doing, and then trying to follow suit and not really coming up with plans that are actually truly reflective of where we're at in our season of life.
Yeah, I love that you touched on that because yeah, we within seasonal, it doesn't
Mhm.
make sense like to go hard during the winter time, and it is human behavior to go back into
Yeah.
I almost want to say survival mode, like your natural instincts of what we were maybe taught. Um, going back to those bad habits. For me, I when I'm stressed, I will tend to eat. But when you think about all the times, even going back into childhood, you know, you're almost rewarded with food a lot of times,
Mm.
like good behavior, here's a candy. So it makes sense that sometimes we go back to our old
Mm.
behaviors because
Yeah.
of, I mean, you have how many years and you I mean, I'm 36, so I have 36 years of these habits I'm
Memorizing
trying
these patterns. Yeah.
to right. And so it's not going to be an overnight thing that you're going to just
Right.
all of a sudden like, oh, this New Year's and I can just change. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, exactly that. And then a lot of these things we view as failure. And actually, what it is, it's you being human.
Yes.
These are not failures. These are symptoms, and these are what happens to every single human on Earth. So it's not a failure on you personally. It is
Mhm.
just what it's like to be a human here on Earth. And these are the symptoms of being a human, of not being able to follow through, of not being consistent. And we'll dive into more through this episode of kind of why and how to look at it a little bit
Mhm.
differently as well. Yeah. So the first thing that you should be is a sigh of relief that you're human. And I know for a lot of
Yes.
people that might not still make you feel any better, because like, well, yeah, but I still want to still do these things. But it's important to take a minute to just understand and give yourself permission to say, I'm human, and that's why this is hard. It's not because you personally are failing. It is
Yeah.
simply because that is just who and how we operate as humans. Mhm.
Yeah. And then I feel like that goes right into like where did the story even come from? Where are
Yeah.
these lies coming from?
Right.
And yeah, a lot of them, it's childhood conditioning.
Right.
Like I just said, praise tied to performance,
Hmm.
diet culture, the hustle culture. I know we've talked about that where
Right.
in earlier episodes where the busier you are and the less time
Hmm.
you actually have for yourself is actually like praised, which is
Right. Right.
like
People
it's like
brag about not having time. Like, oh, I have so much to do. I have many things going
yes,
on. Yeah, we got to keep
yeah.
pushing through. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then yeah, comparison culture, which is the famous phrase of keeping up with the Joneses,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it's even worse now because like when we were growing up, we didn't have technology, but
Yeah.
like you could just see other people. But now
Yeah.
you have social media like where you only see all the
Right.
what you want to see, right? People only post
Yes.
what they want. Yeah. And so it constantly feels like,
It's
man,
impossible to keep
right,
up. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, statistics say that 90 up to 90% of women have dissatisfaction with their bodies, and a lot of that does come with the comparison
Hmm.
of seeing things online. I remember growing up, I forget the name of the magazines, but they did have like teen magazines,
Hmm.
and I would compare myself to the other girls on there, not knowing that they were airbrushed. And even
Yeah.
back then, they still had some technology to affect how the photo looked. And so it was an impossible standard. I mean, the game was rigged
Oh,
from the
yes.
get-go, right? But
Yeah.
yet we still hold ourselves and sometimes others to that standard. So
Hmm.
it's important to recognize it's an impossible standard. And we hear that a lot, but I don't know if we really just stop and think about it because then there's like, well, I can still do this or still do this to look like that standard. And you can, but again, it's like why are you trying to compare yourself to that standard?
Hmm.
And and sometimes these standards are often for beauty standards, it's standards established by men, and
Men.
they're like what 40s, 50s, 60s, trying to like have these
Yeah.
standards for teenage girls. So it's not even designed from people who truly have your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind too. Anyways, but yeah, so the story, how you've been conditioned, it really does set the stage for how you look at yourself now, as far as comparing where you think you are to where you should be, and this the story that you tell yourself. And then something else that you talked about, things you've been conditioned. You talked about like sometimes we earn a piece of candy for doing something good, and then
Hmm.
something else that, of course, is it was really common back then to make sure you ate everything on your plate. And one of the reasons that can have long-term challenges with how you view food is what that caused is you to disconnect from what your body was saying to you. So even if your
Yeah.
body was saying, I'm not hungry anymore, or I don't want this, there was this external voice from either like the school lunch cafeteria lady or uh, whoever saying, no, you have
Whoever.
to
Yeah.
finish all the food on your plate. You're not allowed to leave until you finish the food. So you
Yeah.
were robbed and denied your own autonomy of deciding when you want to stop eating. And so that thousands of times,
Hmm.
probably thousands of times, you've had that situation just repeated back into your head. So yeah, no wonder it's a challenge now. So just being
Yeah.
aware of kind of like how you might have been conditioned. And again, it's no harm or foul on this society.
Right.
It's we just didn't know back then what that was. Like there was good intention behind
Right.
it. They didn't want to waste food or whatever. But it that doesn't mean you still can't change the parts of that that's not working for you anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and a few episodes ago, Arissa had kind of talked about that, like not putting shame on your past, right? No
Hmm.
harm, no foul.
Yeah.
You're just wanting to be curious of where did that come from and does that
Yeah.
serve me? And now I'm trying to remember what was her phrase that she had said. Um, was it like, I feel this because, or I think this because?
Oh, it
Now I'm
makes
trying to,
sense. It
oh, it
makes
makes
sense.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
And
makes
so
sense.
again,
I
it's
feel this
not
way because
because,
I had to eat everything on
yes.
my plate even if I didn't want it or I wasn't hungry or something like
Yeah.
that.
And yeah, so it's no shame on what the past was. You're just wanting to understand why, what is your story? How did it come to be? And so yeah, I am part of the what is it? The Clean
Clean.
Plate Club. Yeah, the
Yeah.
king. Yeah. And now I almost like I feel guilty for leaving food behind. And it's almost like, oh no, I have to eat it. I have to eat it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no, it's okay. It's okay. And
Yeah.
again, I completely understand, back then again, we like you said, we didn't know
Yeah.
um
There's good intention behind it,
there was
right?
there was such good intention behind it of like
Hell is paved with good intentions.
but it doesn't serve me anymore. And I just
Right.
realized that's no longer, yeah, the story that I want to be telling myself. And again, that's just being curious and being aware of where that came from.
Yeah, well, and
And
that rolls right into our the next one we want to talk about, which is that disconnect, like what
yes.
disconnect actually looks like for you. Because sometimes, and myself included, it's like the conundrum. I was so disconnected from myself, I didn't realize I was disconnected from myself. And
Yes.
and so like, what does that kind of look like? So there's the cycle of like the binge, the restriction and binge
Mm-hmm.
cycles, right? Where you restrict food. And then, because you restricted and denied yourself, then it's like the slingshot. Now you're going back and it's like this vicious cycle. And that has a lot to do with the way we talk to ourselves, the way we look at the relationship we have with food, and how we associate
Mm-hmm.
food with, or not having food with, reaching certain goals we might have for ourselves. That,
Mm-hmm.
again, what I'm referring to is like, I want to be a certain size, I want to be a certain weight. And again, where did we get those ideas from? And that was from society, from comparing ourselves to other people, like, oh, this person, she seems so happy, and or she has her life together and she's a size two. That must be it. I need to become a size two in order to have everything she wants. So just recognizing again that conditioning and that programming, that thought process that got you to where that is. And then it's like what are some other ones, Teresa, that you recognize as what disconnect looks like?
Um, yeah, I would say learning, like rest.
Mm.
Resting is a big one where, like, for me personally, I did not know how to rest. What I thought rest was like, oh, I'm going to eat something so I can have a break.
Yeah.
So I contributed rest with eating. And I would deny myself actual true rest. Or like watching TV. Oh my goodness, that is a really hard one for me. Because when I want to sit and watch TV, I want to eat something to justify that I'm sitting there, you
Yeah.
know? And so allowing myself to actually have rest was
Yeah.
hard.
Right.
Um, and it looks messy in the beginning, like because I would be like, oh my gosh, this is awful. Um, but yeah, I was disconnected with what rest looked like, and I would tell myself, oh, the house has to be perfect. Oh, if I get everything done, then I'm allowed to rest.
Yeah.
And it's almost like again, I had to earn it. Um, I had to be good
Yeah.
for me to rest. I had to deserve it, rather than being like, I need rest so that I can get the rest of my things done and be there more in a more positive way rather than trying to suffer myself through and then
Yeah.
rest. So,
Yeah. That is certainly something, at least in our environment growing up, that you had to earn rest. And
yeah.
if oftentimes if you were resting, were made to feel guilty for that. And so
Hmm.
that is part of, maybe other people recognize that too. That like, oh, or like if you're sitting on the couch and like your spouse walks in, you feel guilty for
Yeah.
sitting. That's kind of a sign that that maybe you were raised in a way that you
Uh-huh.
you had to earn it, or you weren't really allowed to rest,
Yeah.
especially in the hustle culture and the you got to work hard, all of the I got to keep going kind of
Hmm.
mentality can make you feel like you're not allowed to rest. Like
Yeah.
that's a good one, Teresa, because I definitely struggle with that one still
Yep.
today. Like even the other day, I had to work from home because it was a snow day. So, but
Hmm.
because of technology, I was able, yay, I got to telework. And I was just was kind of nonstop, and I was just kind of exhausted once I signed off, and I just kind of like laid back, and I just totally fell asleep. And Dave came in, and I immediately like woke up like, I was just like immediately I felt like I had to explain myself. He looked at me like, I don't care. He's like, oh, I'm sorry I interrupted you. You need some rest. But I immediately felt like I had to explain myself on
Hmm.
why I just fell asleep. Anyway, so I'm still a work in
Yeah.
progress. But that kind of goes into like something else for like what disconnection looks like is connecting yourself with your emotions. A lot of us,
Hmm.
and we talked about this again with Jessica and even with
Yeah.
Arissa, uh, a lot of adults struggle with naming the emotion. You know, there's like the common
Hmm.
ones where you're angry or you're sad or happy, but there's you've looked at the emotion wheel a lot, and there's like
There's
hundreds,
so much
so
more. I
many.
was
Yeah.
like, whoa. Like, yeah, because I've even heard that when you're angry,
Hmm.
you're not actually angry.
Yeah.
Like, angry is like a symptom of
Hmm.
what you're truly like. You need to break down anger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It's a protective. It's
yes.
protecting you from
So a lot
something.
of things come
Usually
out
it's
as
grief or
anger,
sadness.
it's
Yeah.
sadness, where
Yeah.
where I'm like, oh my gosh. There was one day where I was like, I just felt angry, and then I was like, well, let me break this down. Let me break it down. Let me break it
Mm.
down.
Mm.
And I got up,
Peeling the onions
yeah,
back.
I'm
Peeling the
feeling,
layer
and I
back.
was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually feeling really scared. I was
Mm.
really scared about a
Yeah.
certain thing that was going on.
Right.
And the
Wow.
anger was like almost my
Protecting you
protector.
from that.
It was
Yeah.
like protecting me from feeling an an uncomfortable sensation. So, yeah, and like you said, there's so many emotions, and
Hmm.
we were not raised
Yeah.
to really be able to name, besides the happy, sad, you
Right.
know,
Right.
like emotions. And a lot of times where I'm like, I don't know what I'm feeling.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's not brokenness. That is just a sign you never had the opportunity to develop the skills you needed
Yeah.
to stay in touch with yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of people, yeah, like you said, uh, they don't even realize how many different emotions that at least we have names for, right? There probably could be
Right.
even more than that, but ones that we have names for. And so, yeah, I really recommend checking out the emotions wheel. You can just Google it and it'll come up. And
Hmm.
anytime you're feeling something, look at that emotions wheel to maybe kind of identify what's going on. And again, it's a skill that's required. And the more you do it, the more you'll be able to tap in with what's really going on. Like you said, sometimes anger that's just the protective, that's the
Hmm.
protective part of you. And you need to dig a little deeper to figure out exactly what is underneath the surface of that anger. Yeah, and oftentimes it is sadness, it's grief, because those feelings are very uncomfortable, but we tend
Hmm.
to be more comfortable with anger. Like maybe anger on some level is a little bit more I want to say appropriate. What I'm trying to say, like it's a little bit more normalized. Like, oh yeah, it makes sense you're angry.
Yeah.
But we don't tend to be okay if other people are saying I'm sad. What, you're sad? Oh, this is awkward.
Right,
I'll
because
see. I
then
gotta go.
immediately we want to fix it. We want to,
Yeah.
like instead of sitting with that feeling,
Right.
yeah. And then uh yeah, because it's a way more uncomfortable, and then I want to escape that, so I usually escape with food or feel good stuff, and not allowing myself to sit in whatever I'm actually feeling,
Right.
because it feels, yeah, it feels, it's scary, it feels
It is.
unsafe.
It's
It's like, how, what do I
uncomfortable.
do? Yeah, it's very
Right.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. We don't like discomfort. Humans
Yes.
do not like.
And
I don't know if any animals do really, but especially humans, we will do everything to avoid discomfort. That's why
yeah.
Amazon's so successful.
Exactly. I'm
Yeah.
sad, I'm gonna shop.
Yeah, shopping, right.
Shopping
And then
that.
yeah, that's where again, these are all kind of tying together if you don't notice a trend, like, oh, um, because sometimes we tend to eat to cover up
Hmm.
that we're sad or to literally make us
Hmm.
feel better, right? So anyways, all of these
Yep.
things are kind of synced together. But something else
Yep.
with like with disconnection is stress. I could not even tell you like how disconnected I am from stress. It's like on
Hmm.
one hand, I'm always aware of how stressed I am, but at the same time, I amaze myself on how disconnected I can be. Like, I
Yeah.
am literally inside this body 24/7, and I could be so oblivious to what's going on sometimes. It's like, that is a skill set. Disconnection. You know what I mean, though? Like we are literally
Yes.
here 24/7. I have had this body since the day I was born, and
Hmm.
I sometimes feel like I don't have a clue with who she is. I'm getting better at it, but
Yeah.
I'm making a joke just to say for all of us, we have built up this disconnection through various reasons, not because we're at fault or because we're broken, but just because again, it's not a skill we've really developed. And part of that disconnection is just that stress and not tuning in to check in to see first, are we stressed? And what can we do to mitigate that stress? And why are we carrying
Hmm.
that stress? So that's another one that I think is really fascinating with disconnection.
And so what is reconnection? So we're talking about disconnect.
Yeah.
And so people are like, okay, but what do I do about reconnecting?
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, that's a great question. And that's really where this episode is beneficial because what does connection look like? So that means listening more to yourself, and
Hmm.
noticing more. We've talked about this a lot, which is getting curious about yourself through non-judgmental observations, just kind of sitting with yourself and noticing what's going on. And then also another one is just being honest. The whole denial thing, I'll be curious if that plays into disconnection. Like if
Hmm.
it either allows you to be disconnected from yourself or because you're disconnected from yourself, you are in a state of denial. Anyways, I'm not a psychologist, I don't
Yeah.
know. But do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Because
yeah,
our brains are really good at justifying.
yeah.
It's really good. So I actually uh yesterday was really, really tired. And I had me and cookie dough. I had cookie dough.
Oh no.
And the hoops, my brain was like, Teresa, go get that sugar.
Go get
You
it,
want that
girl.
cookie? Go get it. Go get it. One little cookie, one little piece of cookie dough.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny. Instead of just being like, just take 5 minutes of rest, it was like,
Mm,
go get the cookie dough. Go, come on, cookie dough, cookie
yeah.
dough. And like, I mean, I fought it for a good 30 minutes. And then finally I was like, I'm so tired. I'm gonna go get. So I did end up, but then when I went to go write it in my journal, I had a reluctance of being
Mm,
like, I don't want to
I
write this
don't want to.
down.
Right.
But and then I, I had my journal and I would walk by it and I was like, no, 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 no. Like, it didn't happen.
That's
But
so
then
funny.
like I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write it down. And but it was just like, well, why did I go get it? But yeah, it's crazy how
Mhm.
your brain again, it was harder for me to rest because I'm not used to that skill.
Yeah.
And what am I used to? Going to go grab something sugary so I can get that burst of energy to get me through. But there is that slowly like I'm reconnecting with myself because I was
Mhm.
aware like, oh, this is what's happening. I should write this down. And not it wasn't judgmental, but it was just
Mhm.
very like again, I'm being
Yeah.
more aware. And
Right.
it's kind of funny now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, how I look like a little toddler.
Mhm.
Like no, I didn't eat that cookie, Mom, I swear. Like
That is, yeah, and again, that's so human.
yeah.
That's so human. There's nothing
Yes.
wrong with you. You're not broken. That is human nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Well, again, I love the whole, being honest, that takes on so many different forms, like you
Mhm.
said. being honest about like logging it, right? You had this tendency to want to cover it up, deny, pretend it didn't happen, but to be honest with yourself, to like, yeah, no, but I did have it, so I'm going to log it because you know you want to keep track of what your
Right.
intake is. Like that's a goal that you have,
Yeah.
but then you did it with through like kind of a funny, non-judgmental way. Like you didn't sit there like, God, you're so terrible for doing. Like you didn't sit and like
Yeah.
punish yourself for it. You let
Hmm.
yourself be. You allowed yourself to have those moments, and that is one of the biggest takeaways I want people to have is,
Yeah.
your life is not meant to be perfect. And these
Hmm.
imperfections, if you want to call them imperfections, are just as perfectly good as other things because it's just who we are. And
Right.
allowing yourself to have those moments and not be harsh on yourself and just be compassionate. Yeah,
Yes.
I think it was yesterday for me. I I definitely indulged in some of my favorite popcorn that I love to eat. And then I was like, "Oh my
Is it the
gosh,
famous popcorn that you always talk about?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is. Yeah, it is. It is. It's so fun. Okay, it's funny side stories, totally sidebar. But a couple days ago, I went to the grocery store and I picked it up because it's been like snowstorms here. We've been snowed in,
Hmm.
and I'm like, I'm gonna have it just in case as like a little snack for myself. And when I was checking out, the lady, the cashier, she noticed the bag of popcorn had a hole in it. And so she's like, oh, just go run and get a new one. So I went to go grab a new one. Another lady was standing right there in front of it. And I was like, sorry, can I just reach past you? I need to grab another bag. And she looked at it. She goes, oh, I love that popcorn. I'm like, I know, right? So it's definitely not just me. Yeah. Anyways, as I digress. But anyways, but then I started my old familiar self-talk to
Hmm.
myself started up like, oh my gosh, here you go again. Ate all the
Hmm.
popcorn. And I'm like, no. So I caught myself, right? And we're going to talk
Yeah.
about that ways like how do I know if I'm improving and like breaking out of these habits? I caught
Yeah.
myself. It still started, but then I was aware of it. And then
Hmm.
before I went down my previous roads, I was like, no, I'm allowed to have this.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with this. Like one day of having this is not gonna ruin everything. This doesn't
Right.
mean I failed. This doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. And so so I caught myself starting to be harsh and judgmental. I gave
Hmm.
myself the compassion and allowed myself to be. Wow. I allowed
Yeah.
myself to be. It was such a great moment. And I really took stock on just how far I've come in that moment. So, anyways, that's just a quick example of ways to show how you're improving. Improving does not mean perfection. Improving doesn't mean sticking to a
Hmm.
plan 100% of the time. Improving means being kinder and more compassionate to yourself and allowing yourself to be human and embracing that and still loving yourself for it anyways. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Small promises kept to yourself change your life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
The small changes.
Exactly. Yeah, that self-kind talk. And the episode with Dr. Terry, she really had great examples of just
Oh,
how
she did.
destructive negative talk can be and ways it can inhibit yourself to or not inhibit, well, and inhibit yourself on be healthy. So negative talk can really impact yourself and can contribute to symptoms and things the body might experience. So it just goes to show how powerful how you talk to yourself is. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's not perfection. It's those, like you said, whispers of kindness to yourself throughout the day is where you're gonna make those improvements to yourself.
Hmm. And so
Yeah.
that I
So
think that goes right
oh
into like
yeah.
redefining
Hmm.
success. What you've said earlier, like magazines, especially in like, the 90s and early 2000s of what we thought success was with weight loss and stuff. And I feel like you get to redefine what success is. You get to define personally what your success is.
Hmm.
And it's not measured by weight loss, perfect routines, never failing.
Hmm.
Those are just completely unrealistic
Yeah.
and unachievable. You can never achieve that. And we're never meant to. We were never meant to be perfect human beings.
Right.
That was never part of like, and um, and I think we each get to decide what does our own success look like because it's going to
Hmm.
look so different. Like my success is going to look so different from what your success looks like, and
Right.
that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If your definition of success is only based on external factors or outcomes, you'll miss the deepest part of progress. And
Hmm.
yeah, growth isn't becoming someone else. Growth is becoming safer to be yourself.
Oh, I love that. Being
Yeah.
safer with yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of times where I want to hide from myself. Through this
Yeah.
process, there's a lot of times I go back to my bad habits because I'm like, oh my gosh, this person has it so figured out, and I can't do what they're doing.
Mm, right.
And the thoughts that are going in my head because I feel like I'm not successful. But then like I had a friend that was like, oh my gosh, I wish I had what you had. I'm like, what? Like I'm over here,
You're like, I am
like
a
what are
hot
you
mess,
talking?
girlfriend.
I'm a hot mess. She was like, no, you seem so perfect. You have it all together.
Uh-huh.
And so it really is like we have no idea what
Yeah.
other people are going through.
Right.
We have no idea what their stories are. And so my situation is so different from somebody else's
Right.
situation. Another family may not have kids or have one kid. I have three kids. Somebody else has
Yeah.
more kids. Like our living situations are also different. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, each person going through their own journey, you get to decide what your success looks like.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about what that does look like. So we talked about a little bit of example before that I gave
Hmm.
is one way to say like what is success? So like yesterday when I started do that negative talk, feeling guilty, I became aware of it, and then I switched it into being kind to myself. So that is a great example
Hmm.
of improving is when you catch quicker each time your negative self-talk. And again, there are some times that it takes me a little bit longer to catch it, if at all.
Hmm.
But the other times I do, but that's still progress. So that's an
Yes.
internal process that you should focus on for examples of showing improvement. What's another one? You're able to pause before spiraling,
Hmm.
before it's really easy to get on that what's the word where you just ruminate about things,
Oh,
you just like
yeah.
kind of spiral. Pausing before you go down that road is huge because so much internal mental energy is depleted when you start catastrophizing or ruminating over, what if, oh gosh, so that's
Hmm.
another way that you can catch yourself. That's a sign of improvement. What are some other ones that you have, Teresa?
Uh, Recovering from bad days or bad moments.
Mm,
A lot of times when I'm really looking back of what my bad days were, it was because I had one small moment of that wasn't that great. And I
yes.
again, I made it instead of just being like, okay, that happened, I'm gonna move on. I like let it storm and rage. And then I was like, well, now that happened, my whole day is ruined. And now I'm able to recover so much faster and and being like, yes, that happened. And I have a way of like, I'm not turning to bad habits. Like, I'm not turning to the food and stuff. So, recovering so much faster
Yeah, yeah. I love
is
that.
really great progress. Um,
Yeah. Oh, like another
and,
one is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, no, 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 go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna, I was gonna say, so something I would do, like when I would start strong, like, yes, this time I'm gonna do it. And then like I missed a couple days. And then after time, like, well, I guess that's over,
Oh yeah.
is instead of just is still pivoting back to something that still works for you instead of just giving up. And so I guess it's kind of to your point where if you have a bad day or an off day, the sooner you can kind of get back on the path of the wellness path that you want to be on, that is improvement. It might take you a couple days, it might be a week or
Hmm.
2 weeks. But as long as you give yourself that grace and that compassion and be like, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to keep going and not viewing
Hmm.
it as a failure or oh, that's over, it's done. It's like, no, this is just part of my life. This is just part of my journey. I'm just going to keep going. So
Yeah.
that's where the improvement is. So it's not, oh, I missed a day of working out. I suck. It's uh, this is life, and I'm going to keep
Hmm.
going, and I'm going to get back to exercising or whatever it is you're wanting to do.
Yeah, and rephrasing um of especially if you do have a rest day or a day where you're like you weren't able to do something. I rephrase it as in like, well, I'm an athlete, so there are days
Yeah,
that I need to have rest.
right.
And not every day is going to be the same. And so I will get to it when I can. So yeah, that's another good progress point as rephrasing some of the things that pop in your head of like
Yeah.
instead of being like, oh, I didn't make it to the gym today or I didn't do this today. Well, I am an athlete. I do have rest days or, I have other priorities in certain days.
Right. Well, yeah, and I love that you kind of talked about the rest a couple times. In rest, I'd be curious how many people have experienced that guilt of having rest or that you have to earn the rest or rest is for the weak or something like that and the
Hmm.
strong just keep persevering and pushing through, which was certainly my mindset, was just push through, push through. And what I challenge you to think of it in a different way, which is when you keep doing that, when you keep pushing yourself, you'll burn out to the point where then you'll really break, and then you'll take even more time to have to recover if you recover at
Hmm.
all. And so, not that you're broken, but you have limits. Humans have limits, and
Yes.
and so by taking those breaks, just think of those as ways of being able to, like a force multiplier that allow you to be even more effective later on the day or down the road because you have that built-in resilience along the way. And
Hmm.
something I think even a lot of women struggle with is, like you said, just taking those breaks for themselves. We are conditioned and have an expectation that we're supposed to put everybody else in front of ourselves. Unfortunately, that's kind of the society we're in right now. And so recognizing that that is not truth or fact, that does just because that's what society expects doesn't make it right,
Hmm.
especially if you need time to yourself. So part of this is reconnecting to yourself, recognizing when you do need those breaks, and then taking them without apology or an explanation. That's powerful and it's hard to get there. But when you can
Yeah.
start doing that, that's definitely a huge sign of growth, that you're able to take that time for yourself without having to earn it. That's really powerful. I feel like that's probably really freeing when you can finally kind of get there for sure.
Hmm. And then going into like self-check questions kind of go into that. A few of those can look like, do I trust myself more than I used to? Do I speak to myself more kindly? Do I recover faster from setbacks? Do I understand myself better? Do I feel more peaceful overall? If yes, then growth is happening. And then a good practice of reconnecting is doing daily check ins.
Yeah.
What am I feeling? What do I need? What's one small way I can support myself?
Yeah. And then for those like this kind of reminds me a lot of like what Jessica likes to practice like when she has her therapy sessions or her mentoring sessions, she'll often ask the person, like myself included, like, does this feel true to you?
Hmm.
And that always initially felt like such a weird question to me. And it is just a sign of how I never never did that. Like, does this feel true to me? Because I never felt like I was allowed like that's irrelevant. Like what I'm just going to do whatever I've been told to do or whatever I feel like I'm
Yes.
supposed to do. And so it can be really awkward checking in with yourself, especially if you're not used to doing it. And so but just trying it. And again,
Hmm.
just start with like no expectation, no judgment. With any new practice, it might feel a little awkward at first, but when you do that daily, again, with anything else, it does start to feel more comfortable, and you do start learning things about yourself. And so, awareness before change, always. So you have to be aware first. Yeah.
Yes. And then I think a good thing when you're doing these daily check-ins is to have the feelings wheel. That way you
Hmm.
can start being like, oh yeah, this is what I'm kind of feeling. And that way you get more practice with those emotions and being able to name what you're feeling. And then that would be able to break it down to kind of what are you needing,
Right.
um, especially when those things just don't come naturally.
Right. Right. And then, like, so an example for a sign of growth, again, that just happened recently. So I signed up to do a half marathon coming up in March, and I was at the gym the other day on the treadmill. And my goal was to do, it wasn't like a long run. I was actually, because I kind of took a little bit of a break because of like the weather and of being kind of
Hmm.
snowed in for a while. So it had been a little while since I'd been on the treadmill. And my goal that day was to just get to 3 miles, kind of like a gentle run for myself. And I was feeling great, feeling good. And about a mile and a half in, like kind of like my back muscles kind of started tensing up a little bit. And
Hmm.
so I slowed it down and tried to like work it out and loosen it up, but it really like wasn't going anywhere. And again, my natural tendency is to just push through because my goal was 3 miles. That's what I wanted to do. And so I kept going. I kept pushing myself because that's my default. And but then at about 1.6 miles, I kind of started thinking a little bit, checking in with myself, and I started recognizing, this is what I tend to do. I tend to just ignore my body and just push through to get to my goal. And then I was like, what do I actually need at this moment? What's more important, to hit the 3 miles and run the risk of further like injuring myself
Yeah.
that I just can't run for a long time? Or I congratulate myself that I got here in the first place. I the bitter cold, the snow and ice. I didn't kill myself walking through the parking lot to get here. Like I actually did quite a bit to get to the 1.6 miles, and my
Hmm.
body's telling me it's you need to stop. And so I did. And then that there was no guilt, and then I congratulated myself for checking in, catching myself going to
Hmm.
that tendency, and then giving myself love, and then I did some stretching, and I took it easy after that, and I did some strength training, that like some lower body stuff. So that's an example of that growth. It wasn't an external factor of, I hit 3 miles, or my weight today is this, or someone else told me congratulations. The growth that I measured was that I caught myself going down a pattern, a path, or a habit that doesn't serve me anymore, and being kinder to myself. And so that's a real sign of that progress, like Trace, like you're talking about.
Yeah, that's amazing. All the gold medals for you, because that's
Thank
huge.
you. Thank
Like,
you.
yeah,
Right.
because that's huge. Like to recognize, yeah, sometimes we're like, oh, I didn't meet my goal,
Hmm.
but you have to meet yourself where you are, and is
Right.
that goal worth the injury? And
Right.
I would almost say 100% of the time it is not worth the
Yeah,
injury
never
because
worth it. Right.
yeah, it's never worth it.
Yeah.
And you to me it's even more valuable because you learn your body communicates with you all the time.
Yeah. Right.
And
It really does.
it's really like we're not just all independently, right?
Yeah.
And so your body, like, and I love that with working out, sometimes every workout, every run is going to be so different.
Yeah.
And your body, if you're really paying attention, is let you know what you need.
Hmm.
And this is going to put you even longer, or like if you would have pushed,
Yeah.
it it could have damaged or you could have gotten hurt. And your next run, you might be able to
Mhm.
go a little bit further, or you might have a better run because you didn't get hurt. So I love that.
Right. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and it wasn't easy too because there was still that fear talk, like because there's a group of us that's doing this run, and
Hmm.
so in my the negative talk was like, oh, what if you can't do this? You're not going to be ready in time. All that fear started going, so
Hmm.
there was a lot I had to overcome
Yeah.
to give myself that grace. So it's not easy sometimes, but again, I
Right.
recognize that that was just fear talking. That was, because I'm like, again, like what's more important? Is it more important for me to stop and give myself that time to recover or push myself and then I really can't do the run because now I just injured
Right.
myself to the point where I'm out. And so the point is this can be messy. It's not always perfectly
Yeah.
clean, and that's my experience, right? It's going to be different for
Right.
everybody. But to be completely honest, like it was even there were even more layers that I kind of had to overcome than, oh, I love
Hmm.
myself. It was I had to recognize I was falling into an old pattern, and then I had to recognize that there was a voice inside that was whispering these scary thoughts that I had to ignore or realize they were there and ignore them and realize that was just fear talking. And then congratulate myself on how, like you said, like what I did accomplish. So yeah, so that's again, so that's a huge growth for me. And
Hmm.
again, just a great example for others to kind of help, like what does real true growth look like for in
Yeah.
that internal growth. Yeah.
Hmm. And I love what you did because you reframed the story,
Mm.
right? Like
Yeah.
you reframed, like instead of being like, well, what's wrong with me? I can't do the three
Oh
miles
yeah. Yeah.
today. You
Yeah.
reframed the story of like, well, you had to get to the gym. Like, look at all the things you conquered. I mean, you could have stayed
Yeah.
home
Right.
and then you gave yourself the grace to be like, I did what my body could do today.
Right.
And so you reframe the story. And that's another huge sign of
Yeah.
growth of being able to reframe and
Yes. Yes, it
insert.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, because, yeah, what if nothing is wrong with you? What
Hmm.
if you're not behind? What if
Yeah.
you're not failing? Um, and even when those negative thoughts come in, you can insert a new thought of
Right.
like, I may not have it figured out yet, but
Yeah.
I'm willing to keep trying. So I think that's really powerful is inserting. You can, it seems scary because like all the negative thoughts, like we're like, that has to be the truth. But
Yeah.
we can insert new thoughts,
Right.
which is a really amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we can insert new thoughts and be willing to keep trying.
Yeah. I love that. And that yet part is really powerful too. That allows you that room of for improvement and not perfection.
Hmm.
I don't have it figured out yet. And that's a strong that tells your mind, tells your body that, but I will get there eventually. So it allows that room for growth. And again, everyone has the right to be a work in progress. If
Yes.
you think that you're supposed to know everything all the time, everywhere at once, that's not realistic. That's not human. You can look at people who really have things figured out as maybe inspiration, but understand they still had to start somewhere, and they might start something new where they would struggle with, just like you. So just keep that in mind that it can be scary to start something new, especially like if you're in your 40s or 50s or even 60s. Like, oh gosh, I was supposed to have everything figured out by this point. But if you're still starting something new for the first time, you've got to give yourself that grace and to be okay to say that I'm starting at step one. And step one is
Hmm.
going to look so different than step 100, right? So
Yes.
just recognizing, again, that self-love, that compassion, and then just like you don't expect everybody else to know everything, the same with yourself as well.
Yes. And realizing that your journey, your path is going to look very different to somebody else's journey and path.
Yeah.
And you are not on the same timetable as somebody
Right.
else.
Yeah.
So somebody maybe ahead or behind you, but you're not on the same path and same
Hmm.
timeline as well.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, that reminds me of that story I
Yeah.
was going to tell you about. So like feeling the narrative you tell yourself and the cost of comparison. So for me, when I got my bachelor's degree, it took me about 8 years to actually get it and graduate. And it was for various reasons. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was in the military and kept deploying, and so a lot of things, life was happening, and so I always felt bad that it took me 8 years to get my degree. Like, can you stop and just think about that for a minute? Like, I wasn't congratulating myself on getting a degree, like the first person in our family to get a degree.
Yeah.
I was just focusing on, like, oh, all these other people got their degree in 4 years or 3 years or some crazy standard like that. And so I kind of robbed myself the joy that I got one to begin with. And, like years later, I found out a statistic that only like about 35% of Americans even get a bachelor's degree. And I was
Wow.
like, really?
That's
And like,
crazy.
here I am the whole time thinking I was behind, or like, where did I even get that notion? Like, I just like came up with this comparison, this anyway, so I'm saying that to say it's kind of crazy how we have this narrative or these expectations we put on ourselves, and kind of like Trace, like you mentioned earlier, like keeping up with the Joneses. Uh, the best way to make yourself miserable is by constant comparison to others, because more to your point, we all have different timelines, we all have different situations, and to compare
Hmm.
yourself to others is just not fair to you or to anyone else. And
Yeah.
so just yeah, recognizing that, you're not behind, maybe you're exactly where you're supposed to be on your own timeline. And that kind of leads
Hmm.
us into, you know, uh, yeah, what if you're not failing? What if you're just learning how to come home to yourself for the first time? Yeah.
Yep.
So, and speaking of coming home, um, with the season, Teresa
Hmm.
is coming home back to America. Big move
Yes.
coming. So,
Yes.
after what, 8, is it 8 years you guys have
Eight
lived
years.
abroad? Yeah.
Yeah. 8 years.
Wow. So you
Yes.
are coming back home to America, and it'll be the first time your kids have ever
Yes.
actually lived in America, right? In the United
Yes.
States. So with that though, practicing all of this advice, like
Hmm.
when we started off this season, we said it then, we'll say it again now. th- We're doing this just as much for ourselves as for everyone else out there. We're learning as we go. And we're recognizing that because of this huge monumental uh, thing you and your family are going through,
Hmm.
we're gonna wrap up and have this be our season one finale episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, yeah, like you said, with these episodes, we're also practicing what we
Mhm.
preach. And yeah, this is a very big move for my family. And I mean, moving is huge anyway, and we're doing
Yeah.
like a big international move.
Right.
And it's very emotional. We have, like
Yeah.
Christy said, we've been abroad for 8 years, so we're coming back home to the States. Um, and yeah, my kids have never seen America or lived in America. And so
Mhm.
this is going to be really big and it's exciting and it's scary, it's overwhelming, it's
Yeah.
very emotional.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we're excited and then when we do come back for season two, we're going to be more grounded, more
Yeah.
intentional, and more aligned with the heart of Sugar Not Included.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, tuning in, listening to ourselves, knowing,
Yes.
we don't want to extend beyond our capacity, get burned out. And
Yes.
so yeah, we're gonna wrap up season one strong with our Sweet 16 episode. But Trace, I don't know about you, but this first season has been absolutely amazing. The
Hmm.
support and everyone tuning in and reaching out to us, letting us know how much they love the show and how you all are uh, doing some of the taking some of the advice, and that just is so thrilling to me
Oh my gosh,
that
yes.
because that's one of the things we like. We hope this advice is uh, as beneficial to you as it has been for us. Because again,
Yes.
like Teresa talks about, like we are applying everything every day as well. Teresa, what about you? What are your thoughts about this first season?
Oh my gosh, I'm just oh I again, I need my feelings wheel because I'm just so blown away about our listeners and how amazing they are, and I'm just so grateful for the love and the support that we have gotten, and just hearing the little takeaways, and I'm just I feel so. Man, yeah, I need my feelings wheel because
All the
it's
feels.
it's all the feels. It's very, like I said, emotional. That even helping just one person,
Yeah,
we made this podcast because a lot of it was that we live so far apart.
yeah,
We don't have the village, and so creating that village and
yeah,
the our guests that have come on, Dr. Terry and Jessica and
yeah.
Marissa, like
Hmm.
um and hearing them and the love and support from them, it's just been
Hmm.
so amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm really growing and applying everything um like in real time.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, in
Yeah.
real time
Yeah.
I'm
We even have episodes where we've had breakthroughs.
yes.
Both of us have had breakthroughs on this show. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So it means so much to me, all the love and the support and to our listeners and yeah,
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, just very thankful, very humbled, and
yes.
just if I haven't said, I'll say it again. Just so thankful for everybody to support us, especially
Yes.
our hubbies. You know, shout
Oh my
out
gosh,
to
yes.
them for being there in the background with all the technical difficulties and helping with the edits and just watching the
And
kids
watching
so
the
we can
kids.
rekid. Yeah, there've been a few times the kids have slipped through and snuck in, but. But that just makes the show even better because, yeah, you don't, shows like this don't happen in a vacuum. Real life
Yeah.
happens. And we're doing this and not trying to hide the fact that we have it all together.
Yes.
So, but yeah, but with that, we'll definitely keep you all updated. We don't have a specific date yet on when season two is
Hmm.
going to kick off, just to allow Teresa and her family all the time they need to get settled and situated into
Hmm.
their new home. But yeah, along the way, we'll certainly give updates and some bonus material. I'll post some of the show notes. We have a Patreon account, so you guys can reach out to us if you want some extra material that we're going to provide through there. And then, as a thanks for being awesome listeners for this first season, we have a freebie attached with this episode, a checklist for you to kind of help you work with how you're improving and growing. So that's a freebie that we have for you guys to say thank you. And to get that, you can email us at sugarnotincludedpodcast@gmail.com. And I will have that in the show notes as well, so you can reference back to that to get the information and get these goodies.
Strong women,
Strong Village.
no sugar.
All love. All right, sis.
Until
Until
next time.
season two. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.